I have never played a roguelike for over 60 hours, and that is because they suck.
I believe you get your kick saying something like that, man.
After spending the past year and a half playing a ton of roguelikes, I noticed that I'm usually moving on after just 10 or 20 hours. And as much as I enjoyed my time in this virtual purgatory known as the roguelike genre, I had enough time to collect my thoughts and turn it into a list. So here are 5 reasons why roguelikes suck, but I play them anyway. The first reason being that it's too repetitive. I know that sounds stupid, but just hear me out here, alright? Now I get that each run in a roguelike is different because of the sheer amount of RNG. From the stages, the weapons, the power-ups, the cards, it's freaking everything and anything. Oh, and don't forget about those life choices you gotta make that might affect you for the next 60 minutes. Don't get me wrong, this is honestly everything that makes a roguelike fun. Or you could say what makes a roguelike, or roguelite, I guess, or whatever. But at the end of the day, I still think it's safe to say that it's repetitive, and it's not always a bad thing. There is nothing wrong with doing the same thing over and over again. I have put tens of thousands of hours into MMOs, slayed a ton of Nergigantes, and grinded the same stage for years. And it was incredibly fun because of one huge difference. Progression, or the lack thereof. One could argue that roguelikes have a lot of progression, and I'm not gonna disagree, but I have always felt that the progression in more ways than one never actually leads you anywhere. You may unlock some stats or passives, new weapons or power-ups, new characters or bosses, new stages, and whatever the crap else. But by hour 15 or 20, it's usually pretty safe to say that you've already experienced a large portion of what the game has to offer. Some games may have a ton of things that may take you hundreds of hours to unlock. But let's be real, most of these late game unlockables aren't really that different from what you've already been playing with for the past 20 hours. There are no experiences that feel new anymore. At this point, the game is what it is. You can now make the choice to keep playing or to move on to something else. And more often than not, I just move on. There have been times where I've stuck around and kept playing for an extra 10 or 20 hours. However, at a point it just feels like grinding, but without any purpose. The hours spent progging, the says slain, the endless farming, they all lead somewhere in the end. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. Sure, there may be another tunnel right around the corner, but that is a new tunnel. Stacking hours in a roguelike feels like grinding, but never getting the drop you need. You're just playing for enjoyment or to get that warm fuzzy feeling of getting good. I'm honestly way past that point of just playing the same thing over and over again to try and get better at it. I think a lot of people are gonna attribute this to it being a skill issue, though it may be, but dude, I have done my grind. I grew up playing everything between Street Fighter 2 and Tekken Tag where you'd grind to get better just so your 50 cents would last a bit longer. I have put my 500 hours into Tony Hawk. I raced my 60 laps around Grand Valley. I don't want to grind like this anymore. I just want an ending. For most story-driven games like a JRPG or Metroidvania, you start the game and you know that at some point you will be done with it. And that's usually when you beat the game. Of course, there's always that bit of endgame content you can do, like collecting all the items or some crap, maybe trying to get the true ending. Then if you really want more, you can play it again. But if you stop playing at this point, it's totally acceptable. You can still say that you loved the game after a 20, 30, or 40 hour experience and never play it again. I guess that is the beauty of an RPG or a Metroidvania. You are consistently being introduced to new experiences throughout the game. New areas, new bosses, new mechanics, new abilities, new story, all the way up until the end, and it just stops. Because you're done. Though a game like Hades was able to pull off an ending, you're usually just left in limbo. I like having a checkpoint that lets me know when I can move on, or if I should keep playing. But without that ending in a roguelike, you're a lost sheep, never knowing where to go or when to stop. It sucks. But at the same time, it's really freaking nice. It is left up to you to decide when you are done, when you are happy with what you have experienced. The hours logged in a game doesn't dictate your love for it. I am not afraid to say that Sea of Stars was not that good. I could have stopped playing the game after just 10 or 15 hours and been okay with it. But the reason I kept playing is that I knew that at some point, it was either going to get better or it was going to be over. It never got better, but after 30 hours, At least it was over. So is it better than Deadcells, which I've only put 20 hours into? I am sure that if Deadcells had a 30-hour campaign, I would have played the whole thing. But the fact that it doesn't have that ending, I can put down the game and not feel guilty for not finishing it. And that's a good feeling. I like being able to put down a game before having played it to the point of hating it. And finally, the fifth reason why roguelikes suck? It is because people get so mad when you call a roguelite a roguelike. I know the difference, okay? And it's pretty much the same thing. It is not like I am calling this a pull-up. But seriously, despite everything that sucks about them, I still love playing them. There is a reason why I'm always quitting them instead of chugging past the 100-hour mark. In the age before Steam, before AIM, before the internet, when I was just a wee boy, there was no way I could afford to buy a new $60 or $70 Super NES game every week. You're usually cycling through the same little library of games you owned. Then on the weekends, you might hit up the Blockbuster and rent a game for 2 days. But now that I'm a full-grown lizard, there are a ton of awesome and affordable games out there, so I cannot help but to move on to the next game when I feel that I am done. When I am satisfied. So if you want to know what games I played this past year, check out this video where I went through and ranked them all. Or whatever this other video is, I'm sure it's pretty freaking gnarly.